Hello, this is Adam Kyle Jackson after the chase. So, had an interesting weekend and intercepted my second tornado of 2021. It's pretty nuts. And the one from, I guess it was yesterday. I can't even keep my days together now. Um, I got in a position where I lost signal, lost, all visual indication. Chasing tornadoes in ponderosa pine trees is never a good idea. So, if you're joining me from over here from Instagram, I know I posted to my stories to have a live discussion. We do have comments enabled, so if you do have any questions, I'll be watching the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk and I'm going to discuss some of the events leading up to. I've had several people ask me, "Hey, how'd you know?" I've had tons of people reach out via text message because I forgot that my phone number is published on Radar Scope and other sources of media, which is cool. I thought it was really awesome. These people were reaching out going, "Hey, we see you. You're there. You're on it." And there for a while, I think I was the only one that was on it. I'll talk about another chaser here in a minute that I kind of idolize his abilities to be where the action always is. So this guy is always there. And if he's watching, he knows who I'm talking about. If you watch my latest IGTV or YouTube video, I've posted some of the footage from that event. We went and did some search and rescue, making sure everybody's okay. Really tried to make sure we were okay in the process, being safe, driving through all the downed trees and trying to really just survey the damage, see if there's any assistance that we could render, and then also getting the heck out of the way. And I think that's important. A lot of people, don't realize that there are some people that kind of got in the way. And so if you're in a disaster scene like where we were at, and I'll let you know here in a minute where we were sitting, get out of the way. Especially if emergency management, the pros, the police, the fire department, the ambulance, everybody's already there and they're already doing cleanup. As a storm chaser, I mean, you've kind of done your job. And if you've asked people, say, "Hey, can I help?" and they say, "No, we got it," just get out of the way and let them do their job. So that's what we did. Got a little bit of footage, talked to some people, got some really interesting first eye accounts of like what they saw as it went through. I don't like publishing that kind of stuff because I just want to talk to people and not make them feel like they're on the spot. But just talking to them casually was really interesting. People coming out of their front yard and stepping out on their porch and literally seeing a tornado go across the road. I just can't imagine what that looks like. So this is Adam Jackson. If you're joining me from Instagram and you have any storm chase questions or any questions of me for that matter, you can type them into the comments below. We're live. I'm going to be on for about 30 minutes. Famous last words. And then I'm going to talk about how did I know where to be? So that was the number one question. How did I know where to be? And I think I ask myself that all the time. How do you know where to be? There's a crystal ball out there. If you've got one that's better than my crystal ball, by all means, let me know, because the chase is always going to be left up to chance based on models, based on road network, based on what Mother Nature really decides to do. There's so many things that can throw you off track or put you right where you need to be. Some of it's left to luck, but if you know what you're doing from a meteorological standpoint and looking at the models and actually planning ahead, day ahead, you can get yourself in a 50 to 100 mile radius, no problem. I think anybody can. It's where the actual storms fire up. That's where you can kind of throw the models out the window. And you really do have to rely on your instincts. You have to rely on the maps. You have to rely on what you're seeing real time visually, and maintaining a heightened awareness of safety for yourself and others around you at all times is just super critical. And don't put yourself in undue risk for that shot. The photography isn't worth your life. And so I learned that even so much more yesterday. I could have kept on driving. I could have. So I can get that shot. And so one storm chaser in particular, I think, saved my life, if you will. And I always hate using that term, like, "Hey, you saved my life." But I think I've probably saved some people's lives, and there's people that have saved my life based on whatever events, and I'll take you through that. So I guess to answer the first question is, how did I know where to be? Let's go take a look at the tail of the tape. Let's go look at what was I looking at. So we're going to go back in time. And so I'm going to look at the HER model. I've actually got radar scope up right now. I was kind of checking out what was going on the East Coast. Kind of fizzled here in Houston today. I did chase a couple of the mesocyclones. I think they're fake mesocyclones just based on the wind profiles. So the actual precipitation, the storms and all that didn't materialize. Let's go over to our model. And so if you've never done this before, and you want to learn how to go figure out where to be tomorrow, or just if you're curious, like somebody asked me in one of the comments, was like, hey, I just want to know, not because I want to chase storms, but I just want to know, because if I'm happen to drive somewhere and I've got severe weather, what kind of things can I look at so I know that I can either don't leave the house that day or I can find an escape route, which is a very valid question. And so if you just go to Google and you say HER model College of DuPage, it should be the first hit. So right here you see the COD meteorology numerical model data. And so this is the go-to, and in my opinion, I don't use anything else. So there's other tools out there. There's Pivotal Weather. There's a few other places where you can actually access some of these models, but they've done a really nice job of just packaging it nicely. So HER model. And so we're going to go back in time. So right now it's, the model run is 2Z, so Zulu time, 5 hours ahead. It's on 3:29. So we're interested in is what was I looking at 3:27:21. And so let's go look at the 18Z model, which would be, I think that's right about when I was like, let's do this. Because we don't have this data. I was looking at it 3:26, and I had actually decided to go hit the Texarkana, the Arkansas border, which did light up and had some severe weather, had some tornadoes up there. And I don't know, just it didn't feel like driving that far. But so I woke up on the morning of 3:27, started looking at the models. Let's look at the 17Z. So that would be trying to do math here. So that's 15, 5, 12. So that'd be 12. So it'd be noon. And don't make this mistake. So I just made the rookie mistake here. Go to the HER model. Select the geographic region first, and then you select the model run. So let's go back in time. Let's look at there's the 15Z. So that's 3 p.m. 3, 2. So I think this is the one I was actually looking at. So this would be like the 10 a.m. model, and you really want to have, like, even before then, maybe like the 8 a.m. model before you decide to jump in the car and pick a geographic region. But it was a nice Saturday morning. So I was looking at, I was just looking at the actual precipitation products and looking at the simulated reflectivity. And what this does just gives you an overview of when and where it thinks things are going to happen out into the future. And so when I'm sitting there looking at this thing, what I'm looking for is where the first cells are going to pop up. And so I started seeing this sputtering of activity. Let's see, this would be 20Z, so that'd be 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. And we'll zoom in on this real quick. And so my target area was here because this is easy for me to get to. I was like, you know what? I don't want to go chase some of this mess that might end up being a massive, multicellular flood fest, bow echo nightmare. And then the previous days, like this last week, was a supercell across Texas just dropped a tornado all by itself. And so that was my thought process. I was like, look, I've got these little blips here on the map, and these supercells just kind of popped up, and I'm like, you know what? I think I can go do this. So this right here is around College Station, Bryan, Texas. And so I decided I'm going to just head that direction. But as the model started updating, and so as the runs throughout the day started updating, about the 2 p.m. run, I think this is 1, 2, it's this one right here. This is where I decided to change course. And this is where, so this model was actually indicating some of the first like actual true supercells with tracks on it right about here. And that was about 5 p.m. And so visually, forget the model, visually, when we were sitting in Bryan, Texas, I believe it was around 3:30, it looked good, but you could tell convection wasn't very strong. There wasn't a lot of instability there. It just was falling apart. And then we were watching the radar and it was just falling apart. So I knew that we probably had to retarget. And it was actually this storm right here. And I posted this to my stories where I said, hey, I'm on the first cell of the day. I was actually on this one. And when I saw this pop up, this is Madisonville, Texas. I immediately redirected from Bryan, which is no big deal because it's on the way, even from where I'm from, like Bryan is on the way to Madisonville. And so it was just as easy to get up here. And I said, I'm going to go catch this because from the way this looks and the way just the way the shape of it, I mean, it kind of looks like maybe your classic supercell. And I started looking at the track of this and it became an actual supercell with a track, and it looked like it was going to be moving across East Texas. And I said, wow, okay, so if I stay with this thing from about 5 p.m. all the way through to midnight, something is bound to happen. And so the idea here was I was already behind, so I had to get in front of the storm. And so I started looking at Alto, I think the town was Alto, Texas. Let's go pull up the map. Let's see here, Alto, Texas. And this is probably, in my opinion, this is the most difficult aspect, at least for me, is I know where the storms are. I know where to be. It's just, where do you need to be? And from a road network, because as we're going through this Madisonville area right here, I knew based on the HER model and how this storm was going to advance, I needed to be in front of it. And so by the time I got to Madisonville, it had already started firing up and it already had gone mesocyclone and it already had somewhat of a tornado signature in it from rotation. And I said, man, I've got to get up to either Rusk, Texas or Alto. And so I actually picked the back roads to get to Rusk. And I'm so glad I did because that helped me. I actually went up through this area here and went here and here and here while this whole mesocyclone was sitting right on my tail. And you could see it through the driver's side window. At this point, I don't think it was tornadic, but you never know. And by the time I got to Rusk, we were well ahead of it. And so now if you go back to the model, and let's see if we can map this up to the HER, you got to really hand it to the HER. It one for one. Here it is right here. And there's that supercell. And the HER kind of underpredicted the strength of this thing, but it's exactly where it said it was going to be. And I was right there in front of it. And so I had a couple of options here. I wanted to get to where the cell would just kind of pass me by and I could see right underneath the hood and get right up into that rotation. And so being in the middle of nowhere, Texas, you have very limited options. And so here's where I think I made a mistake. I think I got too close, and the too close is I wanted to get close intercept. I wanted to get a close intercept of the tornado, so I got too close. And I think if I had backed up a little bit, maybe gone down further south from 69 down back towards Alto, instead I went this Route 23. And this is exactly where this tornado crossed. And I was actually probably on, I don't remember what the road was, but I was on 1857, I think. And as I'm sitting at one of these intersections, the tornado just crosses the road and then leaves a trail of tree destruction. And you can go see all that stuff on my profile on Adam Kyle Jackson on Instagram or on YouTube. Go check out my latest video. I post some of that footage. Now, here's some things that I wasn't thinking at the time. Now, I will always think is that if I'm tracking a tornado, especially in East Texas where there's tons of trees, this isn't really going to apply so much out in like Nebraska or Kansas where it's flat. If you're chasing with the trees, don't go where the trees are going to fall down. So if the tornado crosses your path, you're probably not going to get through there. And that's where we lost the trail, is because we ended up getting blocked on the road and had to go back all the way around. If I had just gone to the south just a little bit and stayed down here, maybe Red Lawn, I would have been able to easily track back up and hit 84 and go to Reclaw, which is, I think this is where the bulk, like when it hit maximum rotation, was right here. And we were sitting right about here, just right behind it. Scary, scary, scary looking system. And it just continued tracking all the way to Mount Enterprise. And so we can go over here to radar scope, and I'm hoping I can pull this up. So I've never done this on the computer to go back in time on radar scope, but we're going to try it right now. Let's go over to Texas. Here's another challenge, is which radar to use. And so where we were at was actually really, really, really scary, because we were on the fringe edge of Shreveport radar, but we were also on the fringe edge of, I think, the Waco radar, and then we were on the fringe edge of the Houston radar. So there wasn't any wind profile. I couldn't see the velocity. I was just looking at visually, like, okay, this is spinning. And it was spinning so fast you could see it with your eyes. So let's go see if we can find the Shreveport, and let's see if we can go back in time. And if not, I'll just show you where exactly this was. And so if y'all hadn't seen this before, this is the radar scope on the computer. And here's the Shreveport radar. Here's Carthage, Texas here. And this town got hit. Mount Enterprise got massive damage. And so we actually saw that here. And then outside of Rusk, or right before Rusk, massive amounts of damage. Between Rusk and Reclaw, we actually got photos of the damage and surveyed here. It was just crazy how much just. And if you want to hear like what it sounds like, I think that, because I mean the tornado had just passed us. Like we saw it just, and it was rain wrapped, so you couldn't really see any of the condensation funnel or anything, but you could hear the trees snapping. And so I've got the snapping sound on video, and it's one of the most eerie experiences I've been through ever, is just standing there. You hear nothing but dead silent and trees snapping off in the distance. It's just crazy, crazy sounds. And so here we are right now. Obviously there is no, let's see if we can go back in time. Calendar. All right, we can go back in time. So let's go back to when this event took place. And I think what we want to be is, I think 6 p.m. And there it is. So hey, it works. And my position was sitting right here. And this is the tornado right here. And so if we should be able to hit play, and it should walk us through. And so I was through here trying to outrun this mesocyclone to get up to Rusk, and I did. And then I ended up going south from Rusk to Alto. And then where I made the mistake, in my opinion, is I should have continued either outrunning it when I was in Rusk from Rusk to Reclaw, or gone south to Alto and then come back up to Mount Enterprise. But any of those combinations could have put me in harm's way with a tornado direct hit. So fortunately, none of the storm chasers were hurt, but I do think there was, sadly, some fatalities associated with this tornado. Let's go to 6:30. So 6:30, you can actually really start to see the ball and then the debris ball. And so our location, let's see if we can figure this out. I was trying to outsmart myself and was going the back roads. And so I think I'm sitting right about here. And this thing just crossed our path and just destroyed. I mean, it literally destroyed every tree in its path. And let's go hit the play button on this. Now, the better way to look at it, and this way I look at it, is the velocity. And there it is right there. So we actually started with the rotation. I got this on film, and it just kind of moved through and crossed my path twice. Crossed once on a road about near Rusk, and then crossed again a little bit south west of Reclaw. And so there it is. So let's keep advancing. Let's advance all the way up till where we get to Mount Enterprise, and this thing was moving. So I think this was probably moving about 50 miles an hour. And there we go. So now you can see a very defined, very powerful tornado sitting right here. And let's go through. So this kind of actually helped me through seeing where this thing went and how close we really came. Here it is. Okay, so we were here. Oh my God. We were right here. So I was on my way to Cushing because I was going to the south, and I was going to try my best to either outrun it. I think there's not a road here. Let's go back to the actual map because I think I was on a little different road. I think there's a back roads through here somewhere because I was not on Highway 84. I was on this road right here. I think I was on 4265, and I was going to try to hit 225 and just kind of get through the mess. And maybe I was on 204. I need to go back and verify on my GPS tracker. But the idea at the time that I was having was like, I didn't know how big the rotation was, and I was thinking to myself, I missed it once because of the broken trees, so I was going to head to the south. Just like I was saying earlier, like now that I know that if you're chasing a tornado in all these trees like this, you know, you need to get far enough away from it to see it, and also get far enough away from it so you're not actually driving through the destruction, because you will get stopped. And I guess I didn't get away from it because I was probably within minutes of getting hit. That was right here. So let me change this a little bit back because it's 645. Okay, now let's hit play. There it is. Oh my. I had just turned. We were in reclaw, and I've got to go back. I've got this all on GoPro. I got to go back and look at the footage, and I think I've got the signs and stuff, so I'll go back and look at it, and I'll actually look at the times too. But I had just turned, and I was probably sitting right about here. So this thing just literally crossed my path. I'm on the wrong side of it. I let it get in front of me because of that broken tree scenario over in Rusk. So what if I hadn't have gone down here and tried to intercept it directly when it first started and just stayed on 84, we could have stayed in front of it the whole time. And so that's a lesson learned. But yeah, that's the tornado that we intercepted yesterday. And it was pretty wild. And so that was just based on this HER model. And if it hadn't been for the HER model, I would have just probably sputtered out and had a bust day hanging out in Bryan, Texas, chasing cells that visually looked decent, but on the radar, they ended up dying. So does anybody have any questions? I'm looking at, I got the reactions, got some thumbs up. Thank you so much. But yeah, I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you so much on the support for my previous video. You know, I've been trying to do a lot better job documenting what it is I'm doing from a video perspective, because I think when I actually go chase, I mean, I'm never really focused on doing this, getting the GoPro, stick it on the windshield, and now I have some regrets. I mean, I've seen some stuff, and I should have put it on film, but this takes time. This takes focus. This takes effort. This takes, you know, you're doing a million things when you're storm chasing. So trying to get the video right and doing all those aspects for the media, it's just, it can be time consuming. So if there's anybody that's got any questions, hit me over here in the comments. I know I've got some viewers over here. I can see them. And again, thank you for the support on my last video. So me consolidating all of this data now, I'm calling it Into the Chase. So this is Into the Chase, Into the Storm Chase with me, Adam Kyle Jackson, showing you behind the scenes. Here's the things that I look at. Here's the mistakes I've made. Here's the things that I think I did well. And here's what I'm going to try to do next time. And so next time, I am going to chase the discrete cells. I'm not going to chase the multicellular crap ever again. I'm going to get in early enough, and I'm not going to get distracted off onto what I'm seeing visually. Hey, that looks cool. And I'm going to trust the models. I'm going to trust the data, because if I had been 1 hour earlier, I would have probably been in a much better position. So I was actually playing catch up a little bit on this one, which leads me to one of my chase heroes, Bob Pack. I met him. So I've been watching him for forever, for as long as you could see somebody on GPS. I mean, he's been there with us in Kansas, been there with us in Nebraska, been there with us all through Texas, Oklahoma, everywhere. So everywhere I've chased, based on my own analysis and data, here Bob is. And watching him work is just, it's something else, because he seems to always be exactly where you want to be. So meeting the guy, he's such a nice guy. And if I hadn't run into him, so here's the story. We were sitting in Rusk, like I said, trying to catch this rotation right here. And let me put it back on the tape here. And this is, I think, certain things can happen in life, divine intervention. Maybe God's watching your path and says, hey, stop here, please. Put something in your way and says, hey, not today. And I'm thinking that I've got a situation like that yesterday where I think I wasn't supposed to be somewhere. And this is what I'm talking about. So I was trying to get out of this purple band area here. There wasn't a radar available. This was like one of the worst situations, because if you see this, we're blind. You don't know where the rotation is. All I got to see was this little blip here going, uh-oh, there's a tornado sitting on the ground. And the idea was, you can either go to the east and potentially miss the tornado, or you can go to the west and get out of the purple band so you know you're not blind and you can see the rotation. But between Rusk and Cushing or Reclaw, you're blind. There's no way to tell what the heck's going on other than visual cues, which you can't see because you're in the trees. So I was sitting right about here, and I noticed I just passed Bob Pack, and I wasn't really paying attention to what all the other chasers were doing. For one, I was actually one of the few, if not the only chaser on the map when we were down here from Grapeland moving on up to Rusk, and so I wasn't really concerned with what everybody's doing. But I saw him pop up, and I'm like, okay, I guess I must have nailed it, because if he's here, then we're about to see some stuff. And then he went that way, and I'm like, wait a minute, do we follow him or do we? And so radar scope data has a massive lag on GPS. And so where I'm thinking I had already passed Bob, I didn't. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this back roads here, and we're going to try to cut this thing off at the path. And I went down Highway 23, which was right here. And as we turned down Highway 23, here comes right here the tornado. And I believe we turned on this road. And as I turn on this road, who do I see right in front of me? And I didn't know what he drives. I don't know him at all, but he's got his call sign, the ham radio call sign as his license plate, clear as a bell. I'm like, holy crap, that's Bob Pack. He's sitting right in front of us. And so I'm just going to stick with this guy. And, we saw Beasley came past, and I think he was up on the tornado. So Beasley, if you're watching, I saw your license plate. It's a nice vanity plate. Kind of lost Bob again because he got out in front of us. And then I see him parked, and I pull in right behind him, and I was this close to continuing down that path. And if I had, I would have probably been impacted, because maybe within a half a mile or less, the tornado crossed right in front of us. And then as we went to drive down that road, you could see the damage, you could see the trees, all that stuff. So thank you, Bob, because I saw you stop there. I ended up stop there more out of curiosity, just to say hi. And if I hadn't have done that, I don't know if I was able to see, because we certainly were not able to see on the radar. And so we'd actually already lost signal and everything. So while you're out there, watch what those other chasers are doing. Watch their GPS. If they're publishing the GPS locations, I am never the smartest guy in the room. I never claim to be. And you always need to reference something else when you're chasing. Always reference and model the radar. If you lose visuals, go look at something else. There's always some sort of data point there that can put you in a safe spot. And so in this case, it was, thank God that dot showed up, and I said, he's here with me. And then we ended up parking right next to him. So that's my tornado story from yesterday. So thank you so much for your support. I think my last YouTube video has gotten tons of likes. It's like the most I've had ever. I think I'm up to 430 subscribers now, so I don't know how that's happening either. But it's awesome. So thank you so much. Appreciate all the support. Come follow me over on Instagram if you're not. If you're joining me from Instagram, thank you so much. It's Adam Kyle Jackson. I post all this stuff over there, Reels, IGTV, posts, whatnot, tips, etc. And then I do these lives over here. All right, we got a comment. I live in Mount Enterprise. So this is from Evan Taylor. I live in Mount Enterprise, and we're fortunate not to experience any damage. Say, do you know the strength of the tornado that hit us? Felt like an F1 or F2. You know, as we were driving through, seeing in the live oaks that had snapped, all the trees that were just leveled in the forest, met with some other storm chasers out there, and, you know, we kind of all unanimously agreed F2, F3. You know, but without going and doing further survey damage from any structural stuff, you know, we're not pros on that. I haven't seen anything formally come out yet, but if I was a betting man, it would be F2, F3, definitely, based on what we saw in the forest. I saw a shed completely demolished. I saw the steeple removed from a church. I saw a roof from one part of the town land in another part of the town. I mean, there's some damage, okay? So, and then I guess just for me, the most impressive, just growing up in Texas, seeing live oaks everywhere, just the live oak just snapped in half. Not like fell out of the ground, like the ground was soft and it fell over. No, like the trunk snapped in half. So a tornado, that with that kind of wind, it's got to be F2, F3 in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. And I've posted links to ways to help out any of those families. I always try to help. You know, you're only one person, and so if you go out and you try to do, you know, rescue, search, and all that stuff, great. I appreciate that. When you're out chasing, always think of others first. But at the end, after you're done, after we get to come home and, you know, we get to drink a beer and sit here and do YouTube lives and stuff, those people are still putting their houses back together. Those people have maybe lost loved ones. You know, my heart goes out to the people in Alabama. They just got hammered twice. And so they had that roll through one week and then another week. I think every week we've had a tornado. It's crazy in March. I caught some up in Texas. So the people up Happy, Texas, I'm from Lubbock, Texas. Knowing that whole region and seeing the devastation that was up there, intercepting the tornado in Nazareth, Texas, and seeing that wedge tornado with my own eyes, going, uh-oh, you know, these may be people I know, for all I know. So those things, I know I try to think of it. It's kind of hard to do. It can be overwhelming because it's just so much. But I posted some links. So the first comment on my video, I put the links for how you can help. So I think there was some donation pools. There's charity. There was food bank, that kind of stuff, where you can go, and it's legit organizations. I checked it out. But if you can think of any other ways to help, you know, by all means, go on my video, comment down below. So, all right, I'm gonna go study the models. We're gonna go plan the next 2 weeks out, see what's going on. Looks like some activity, Nebraska, maybe April 8th. There's a energy bomb, Cape bomb, not a bomb, but you know, it's something to look at. So as we get closer to April 8th, we'll start talking about it a little bit more. So I appreciate everybody that's joined me. You guys have a wonderful night. My heart goes out to everybody out there that's had any damage or lost loved ones or injuries from this stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks. It's been a wild ride. So if you have any ways to help these folks, again, please put a comment down below. So, all right, I am going to go do my homework and go figure out how could I have been safer on this last chase. Oh, and thanks again, Bob Pack. Really appreciate it, man.